What else is going on? I think he might be coming back next year. Him and I have a little bit of somewhat of a game plan going. We might do something next year together. What else? It's just a kind of a dream, kind of a plan thing. Nothing really written in stone yet. For the meantime, I'd like to say hello to Oscar. Oh boy. Bulow. He's from Sweden. It's the U has that little dot on the top. I don't know how do you pronounce that. It's when I was in 8th grade, 7th grade, I remember studying German, and for some reason the word umlaut is ingrained in my brain. Now I don't know if that was a German name but supposedly that 2 dots, something with umlaut. I don't know. I really don't know, but I don't know. Who knows? So anyway, hello and good afternoon. Greetings to Oscar Bulow. Bulow? Oh boy, forgive me. There's a T680 right there. Oh, the current odometer reading for Your Grace is 125139. So I think I have been driving Your Grace for 125,139 miles minus 2,000, because I think if my memory serves me correctly, I think when I picked up Grace, she already had 2,000 miles on it. So you'll have to watch in the beginning of this year, this year, to see what the original odometer reading was. Greetings from Christiansburg, Virginia. Temperature's 85 degrees. By the way, I'd like to say hello and good afternoon greetings to James Ford and Hardeep Singh Hundal. I would imagine you're from India. This is where the Virginia Tech College is, right? That mass shooting that happened not too long ago. Oh, I also have to tell you about Richie. When Richie passed Appleton, Wisconsin, he so happened past a gun range store. And you know, in England, in the UK, they are not allowed to own a gun. And he's never shot a gun before. So he went into the place and rented a couple of pistols, started doing some target practice, and that was... Hey, can you imagine? You have to go to a different country just to go target shooting. I mean, we as Americans almost take that for granted. I mean, it's now, as long as As long as you don't have any criminal record, you're not mentally insane, you have the money. In Wisconsin, you go to a gun store, they do an FBI background check, and within an hour, 2 hours, the result comes back and say, okay, you are clear to purchase a gun or not purchase a gun. I don't know how the media portrays it, like strict your gun laws and background check. I mean, how much stricter is it for a FBI background check? You know, at least that's in my experience every time I've purchased a firearm. But yeah, that's one of the point is, as Americans, we just go to a store, they do a background check, we buy the gun, we pay the gun, take it home and go somebody's backyard, out in the farm or gun range, and shoot all day long. But in places like the UK, yeesh, you can get like 5-10 years in jail for doing that, you know. According to Richie, they don't have any guns in the UK, but they do have a lot of stabbings in London. So their weapon of choice over there is stabbing, knives. You know, I've always been so baffled by that idea. Is why is it that when somebody gets stabbed, it barely hits the news? When somebody gets killed by a knife, no big deal. I don't know, 1 or 2 people will mention it in the news. But if it's a gun shooting, the whole world knows about it. It seems to me that when it comes to gun violence, it's a double standard. Why is that? Violence is violence. I don't know. You take the gun, and if people really want to kill people, they'll find a different way to kill people, you know? But here we go with the politics thing. So anyway, by the way, I am happy to tell you guys, to share with you that the one of my videos, Trucker Helps Motorcyclist, is going viral again. A lot of people seems to be watching that video. It seems like it went viral, then it went dead for a while, and then now it's coming back. A lot of people are watching that video now. A lot of people are commenting. How about we say hello to Giovanni Gigliarano? Gigliarano. Boy, that's probably an Italian name. Gene Faust and Chris Wallace. Greetings from Virginia. Hey, I'd like to say hello to Paul Jean-Pierre. Boy, I hope I pronounced that properly. So, Paul Jean-Pierre, good afternoon, greetings from somewhere near Roanoke, Virginia. 83 degrees, local time is 4:46. Down to 226 miles to the yard. And that quick minute update is brought to you by Milk Biscuit. Guaranteed to soften your skin, brighten your teeth, make you think you're above average. Wait, that's not the way it goes. Milk Biscuit. Guaranteed to brighten your teeth, soften your skin like butter, and make you think of you're above average. I haven't used that in a long time. It's amazing how easily I forget things so soon. Anyway. Alright, one of you have asked how long I have been in the United States. That's kind of a complicated question because basically I have been here two separate times. I mean, I've traveled back and forth to the Philippines, but I have lived here basically, twice. The first time I came to the United States, alright, first of all, I was born and raised in the Philippines, with my father being born and raised here in the United States. And my father was a merchant marine. He was a sailor, the kind of sailor that the non-military sailor, people that work on big ships, on freighters. That was my dad. In his younger years, he became a merchant marine, a sailor through the Great Lakes. And when he was old enough and qualified enough to become a sailor for the high seas, and I think he went directly to Germany, and that's when he boarded a ship and became a seaman. So he did that around for many years around the world. And one day he so happened, he and his shipmates was picking up a load of pineapples in the island of Mindanao, Del Monte, Philippines, picking up a fresh load of pineapples, and he just fell in love with the country of the Philippines. And I don't know if that was the first time that he jumped off ship right away, or it took him a couple of trips back and forth to the Philippines until he decided to jump off ship. Now, jumping off ship is basically, I think it's a seaman term for, you quit. You take a port anywhere in the world and you quit. You just walk away. And that's what he did. He walked away from seamanship, and he bummed around. And one day, I don't know, to make the story short, he was in a public market, and there were a group of people that were not too kind with my young father-to-be, and they were harassing him. They were doing all kinds of despicable things, and making trouble for him. Now, my mom lives about 4 hours away from where the port was, in Puerto Bugo. And my mom was on the bus, and at that time, until today, the bus always stops in every major town, the public market, to drop off passengers and pick up passengers. That was the earlier years of practice of passengers. To make the story short, my mom was riding a bus to go to the major city of Cagayan de Oro City, from Medina Misamis Oriental. And when my mom looked outside the bus, there was all kinds of commotion going on. And she got curious. She went over there, and she was horrified of what she saw. And she saw this young American being mistreated and taken advantage of and all kinds of stuff. And my mom just blew up and just started yelling at the people. And my mom is one of those very small, petite women that they have a giant heart, and they can, one of those very ferocious kind of young petite women. And she started yelling and driving the local people to leave this young American alone. And so she invites my dad to be. Now, instead of going to Cagayan de Oro City and continuing on her journey, she invites him to go back to Medina Misamis Oriental and introduces her to my to-be grandfather and say, Tatay means dad. Tay, I brought somebody home. Now at that time, you don't do that. That's not culturally acceptable. You don't bring a man home, let alone a foreigner. That was not a practice that was acceptable back then. But she did. And well, my mom, she made a little hut outside the house. That's where my dad slept, and the rest of it, now you know the rest of the story, kind of a thing. So to make the story back in track is that's how I got my citizenship to the United States. Is my dad was an American, even though I was born in the Philippines. I was considered an American citizen. All my dad had to do is go to the nearest embassy, claim me as his son, and you don't petition your son. You just acknowledge that child is your own. At that time, there was no such thing as a DNA test. I would imagine now that you would have to do all kinds of DNA testing and all that stuff now, but back then you just say, this is my son, I'm acknowledging him, and I would like for you to give him a US passport so I could take him home. That's how it was done. I would imagine that the US consul would have to look at your face and the face of the child and see if there's a little bit of a resemblance. You can't just, that way you can't just claim a child that's not yours. But that's how simple it was, and that's how simple it should be. But with all the modern technologies and all that stuff, I think from what I heard, they do require a DNA test now. So anyway, when I was born, I was considered a U.S. citizen, and I was born in 1968. And in the early or late 1979, my dad and my mom had enough of each other. They were just cat and mouse. Oh man. Things would fly all over the house from both sides. Especially, I think mostly from my mom. My mom was more of a violent temper than my dad. And even though my dad would yell, my dad would never hit my mom. Never. I mean, jeez, my mom could throw stuff at my dad, and my mom could lose control, and my dad would just put her in bed and just lay on top of her and until she came down. I mean, my mom was something else. So anyway, back in the late 1979, they had enough, and my dad by then already met another wife or woman. So it was me, my brother, my half sister, and my stepbrother, and my future to be stepmom. We migrated to the United States. And I remember we went to Hawaii because at the time when my dad was in the Philippines, there are two gentlemen from Western Samoa. They were studying biology. No, not biology. They were studying agriculture. And it turns out these two young people were royalties in Western Samoa. One was the son of a king, and the other one was the son of, I don't know what the structure is in Western Samoa. They have royalty bloods and tribal bloods and all that stuff. So these two people were high and powerful at their country. And when they were studying agriculture, my dad met with them back in the Philippines, and they stayed at our house for quite a while in the island. And so on the way to the United States, my dad planned to go to Western Samoa to visit these guys, and so we did. And from Manila, we had a direct flight to Hawaii. And if you Google this, or some of you may even remember, it was the date where Pan Am declared a strike, and we were forced to stay in Hawaii for quite a while before we could go to Western Samoa. And we stayed in Waianae, Hawaii, I think it is. So anyway, we went to Western Samoa, met with these guys. Beautiful culture. We also headed over there to American Samoa, and that's an American territory. If you Google a map, or Google Rainmaker Hotel, even on YouTube, or Google Earth, Rainmaker Hotel, American Samoa, and that's where we stayed for a while too. And then from there we went back to Hawaii, then to Sheboygan. And we stayed in Sheboygan for until mid 1983. And my dad got homesick to the Philippines, so we all packed up again and we went home. And I think that was the same year where Ninoy Benigno Aquino was assassinated. And so anyway, we went home, and then from there in 1983 until 1990, I lived in the Philippines. And then from 1990 up to Now I have been a resident in the United States since 1990. Of course, back then I would travel to the Philippines every year, every other year, see friends. I wasn't married then. But my dad died in June 1st, 2000. Yeah, 2001 maybe? Yeah, 2000. And it was the same year before 9/11 happened. So, and I know I distinctively remember that my dad did not make it to see 9/11. He died in June, and then of course 9/11 happened in September. So, and I have been here in the United States. Well, when my dad died that year, about a week later, my brother and I brought my dad's remains back to the island of Camiguin Island in the Philippines, because that was always in my dad's mind. He always talked about it. If I go, you gotta bring me home. You gotta bury me home to the island that I love. So when he died, we brought him home, picked out a beautiful place for him. By the way, in the Philippines, it's very rare for people to have their loved ones buried in their property. In fact, I have never heard of anyone being buried in their private property. It's always the cemetery. But somehow my dad's best friend is very influential in the Philippines, and somehow he convinced the government to allow my dad to be laid to rest in this property. And there he is. You can even Google Earth my dad's gravesite. I do once in a while when I miss him. I will Google Earth him and see his tomb. He's buried above ground, just like they do in, Louisiana or Alabama. They have a tomb. So after he was buried, I came back to the U.S., settled all my dad's affairs. Then I never got back. I never had a chance to go back anymore. I've been here since 2001 or 2000. Yeah, 2000. I haven't been home in 18 years, really. And that's a little bit of a story of my background. I know a lot of people have heard this story before, but since you guys, a lot of you are new, I thought I'd share that again. Seems to be a reoccurring question. I think Bigfoot, Dave, the Bigfoot guy, he thought I was Mexican. I get that a lot too. Anyway. Alright, the local time is 5:13. Temperature, it is 83 degrees. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good and godly day, everyone. As always, thank you so much for joining me in my travels and glorifying the Lord Jesus Christ 1 mile at a time.